Dear viewers, welcome to another session of Civic Education. Okay, so our discussion today will be discussing on simple interest, on how to calculate simple interest, compound interest, okay, and then also defining some terms such as principal, okay, interest rate, okay, and then also time. So let's get started. So the first question is coming from 2021. Okay, so we have our 2021 paper, okay, which was written in November. So the question went on to state, okay, study the statements below and answer question 10 to 11. Okay, so Joseph borrowed 1,000 from Natsave Bank to buy a popcorn machine for his new business. He signed an agreement with the bank at an interest rate of 10%, okay, for 1 year loan. Okay, so the first question, what was the interest on the loan borrowed by Joseph? All right, so we are told to calculate what interest is. So I'll first of all define what interest is, and then also we look at the formula for calculating interest, and then also what we call principal. All right, so let's get started, okay? So we first of all define what interest is. So simple interest is the amount earned on the principal amount at a given rate and time. So this is simple interest, okay? And then principal is the initial amount of money that is borrowed or lent or the current amount that is owed or invested. So to calculate simple interest, we use the formula interest is equal to principal times rate times time over 100. So this is our formula. Now we have to know what principal is. So principal, if we look at it, principal is the amount which a person usually borrow or rent. Okay, so if we look at the definition here for principal, so principal can be borrowed or rent. Okay, so if we see Joseph had to borrow. Okay, so let's try to see here. So Joseph had to borrow. Okay, he had to borrow the amount. So if we see from the question, we are given Joseph borrowed 1,200. So this 1,200 is the principal, okay, from Natsave Bank to buy a popcorn machine of the new business. So this is the principal. And then the rate is how much the money is accumulating, or at the time at which money is accumulating. So we have rate of 10%. Okay, so let's try now to set up in the formula. So we have the data. Let's do the data correction. So in data correction, we can correct the principal. So the principal given is 1,200. Okay, and then we look at the actual time. Time is 1 year. Okay, so if you are given time in months, you divide over 12. Okay, so 12 months is 1 year. Okay, so you have to divide the given time on with 12. So you say the given period of time divided by 12 if time is in months. But if time is already in years, you apply direct. Okay, so our time is 1 year, and then we look at the rate. The rate is 10%. And then we can apply this data in the formula to state interest is equal to the principal, okay, times the rate, which is 10%, times the time, which is 1, and then over 100. Okay, so therefore interest will be when we multiply here, when we divide those zeros and these zeros, when they cancel, you remain with 12. When you say 12 times 10, you get 120. 120 times 1, you get 120. So you have 120 kwacha as the interest. Okay? So we move to the other question. This question I took it from 2021 also. It's also part of 2021. So question 11, how much was Joseph supposed to pay to the bank after 1 year? So after 1 year, Joseph has to pay the interest. Okay, that amount, the amount which is earned on top of it, has to be paid, or the amount which is agreed to be paid on. So that amount has to be paid. So now you use the formula amount will be equal to principal, the money he lent, and then plus the interest they charged him for that money which he got. because a loan has to be paid with interest. That's one thing that you have to take note of. So you pay an interest, the money agreed to be topped up on the amount borrowed. So that top up amount, we call it interest. Okay, so in here we can see the amount which Joseph had. So the amount which Joseph had, if we look at it, he had 1,200. Okay, that was the principal. So principal 1,200 plus 120. So the amount which Joseph has to pay is 1,320. So this is addition. When you add 0 plus 0, you get 0. And then 0 plus 2, you get 2. 2 plus 1, you get 3. And then 1 there, you have 1. So you have 1,320. So this is the amount that Joseph has to pay. So you can write it in this way. You can say 1,200 plus 120, and then you get 1,320. So this is the amount that he has to pay. So if we look at the option answer there, we have A as an answer. Okay. Let's look at the other side. Okay. So on the other side there, we have this question. So I'm taking this question from 2018. Okay. So this question is coming from 2018. So in 2018 there, the examiner went on to state, study the table below and answer the questions that follow. Okay, so we have a symbol, term, and then here we have interest, and then here we have principal, like we know principal. Okay, and then here we have rate, and then here we have time. Time is given by N. N stands for time taken. Okay, so therefore we have this. And then the examiner went on to state, question 5, explain the concept interest rate. So this is interest rate, okay? So interest rate in definition, we can define interest rate. Interest rate is defined as the percentage of principal amount that is charged or paid for use of money over a period of time. Okay, so this is interest rate, and then it can be applied to loans, mortgage, and other financial instruments. So we call this as interest rate. Okay, so then we look at the other question. So on the other question, if we see from here, we have B, name the concept, okay, labeled A and B in the table above. What are the concepts P? Okay, so P and D and N. What are these concepts labeled as A and B? So these ones, what they mean? They mean A, principle. Okay, so this one is the principle. If we look at this one is principle, and then N is the time. Okay, so we call that as time. So we have time taken. Okay, and then we have the other question. The other question is coming from question C. So we have C, what is compound interest? So if you look at compound interest, when you define it, we can say compound interest is the interest that is calculated on the principal amount plus any accumulated interest from the previous periods. Okay, so that is the compound interest. Okay, and then we look at the other question. Okay, so on the other question there, we are given D, Abdul Darama borrowed 1,000 at 12% interest rate, and he paid back after 5 years. Okay, calculate the compound interest for Abdul Darama for 5 years. So we are looking at compound interest. Okay, so compound interest can be given with this formula. So let's look at the formula. So this is the formula for compound interest. So compound interest is equal to we have principal, okay, plus 1, then plus rate, and then plus rate. This R stands for rate, okay, and then plus, and then to the power of time taken. N stands for time taken. Always remember that this is time taken. Then P stands for principal, okay. So and then this is the accumulated interests, and then from there what we will have, okay, we look at the data. So let's look at the data. So what are we given as principal? So principal we are given for Abdul Darama, we are given the principal of 1,000. So principal is 1,000, okay, and then the rate is 12%, and then the time taken is 5 years. Okay, so take note of this. Principal, the amount which you borrow, okay, rate 12%, and then time 5 years. Then now we apply in the calculations. Okay, so we state the amount. So we can say principal, and then open brackets, we have 1 plus the rate is 12%, okay? And then time taken is 5 years, and then the actual rate we divide it by 100. Okay, so when we divide 12 divided by 100, you get 0.12. Okay, so this is what you get when you say um, principal, principal open brackets 1 plus e. So when you divide this one by this one, 12 divided by 100, you get 0.12. That's where I was getting the 0.12. Okay, and then to the power of 5. Okay, now here you power this, you add, you say 1 plus 0.12. You add these numbers. First of all, you divide this, and then now you add the numbers. So you first of all start with what is inside the brackets. If you follow mathematics, you start with what is in the bracket, you add 1 plus 0.12. When you add these two, and then you power. So when you add 1 plus this, we are getting 1.12. This 1.12, you power it to 5. You power it to 5. So when they say powering, they mean multiply 1.125 times. But don't add, you multiply it 5 times. So this is how you do it. So you say 1.2 times 1.2 times 1.2 times 1.2 times 1.2. Okay, so you multiply this times that times that times that, you get the net of 1.76234168. This is what you get. Okay, so in an exam where you don't have a calculator, you can just multiply this. You start with the 2, you multiply the 2, and then you multiply the 2, and then you multiply with the last one. So the value that you are finding when you multiply this one, you write it, and then you multiply that value with this one, and then you multiply that value with this one, we multiply that value with this one, and then you add everything in total. Okay, you find that you have 1.76234168. So this is what we are getting as you power this one to the power 5. Okay, upon doing that, you bring the actual value which you have found on this actual point. Okay, the power is gone. Now you multiply this value which we have multiplied with 1000. So you say 1000 times this value. So 0 will cancel the decimal. So when you multiply this value with that one, you get 17,000, or let me say 1762.34. So this is what you get for multiplying. Okay, so take note here, there are 3 zeros. So when you add the 3 zeros there to this value, you get the particular decimal places will be 4 digits. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 digits, and then the decimal come on 3 here. There are 4 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then the decimal come on this point. This is 1000. Always take note of thousands, tens, hundreds. I hope you're able to remember in grade 5. Those are useful. Okay, we don't value the principles. Those principles are useful. So when you have 4 digits, then that is thousands. Thousands have to be 4 digits. Okay, 4 digits, they make up 1,000. So you have to notice how I came up with this decimal. It's out of rounding off this value. Okay, so when you're just multiplying with 1000, then you have 4 digits, and then a point, and then these other values. Okay, so we now look at the other question, the last question. So the last question which we are having, okay, so we are given this one. State 2 reasons why an entrepreneur may need to borrow money. What are the reasons for borrowing money? So let's try to see. So the reasons for borrowing money, we can say, okay, we can say 1, to start or expand the business venture by supplying inventory, premises, or hiring staff. So people, they borrow money to expand the business. If you want your business to grow, you want to start selling assorted goods, like for example, if you are dealing with a laptop industry, you want to start expanding the business, you start buying a different type of assorted laptops. Then you buy spare parts, you buy things. So in order for you to operate, you need to borrow money, okay, so that you expand your business. And then also you hire staff, because you can't manage the business by yourself. You can't manage deliveries, you can't manage to clean the premises, all that things, they need people, or they need staff people. Okay, and then also the other reason is to cover operational costs, okay, such as paying salaries, taxes, utilities, or supplies. If you don't have money to pay workers, then you have problems in operation. So you borrow money in order for you to pay workers, and then to pay utility bills like Zesco bills, electricity, okay, and so many others. All right, so we come to an end, dear viewers. Please subscribe to the channel, invite others, and then if you need materials, please put the put your line in the comment section, and then I'll add you to the WhatsApp group so that I can send you direct materials. I have free gifts for each and every viewer. Okay, so when you put your line there, and then I'll be able to send some materials for you. Thank you for watching. Always remember to hit the subscribe button, share, comment, and then invite others to join the group. Thank you.